Screencast here is going to cover Chapter 6, Lesson 5. What we're going to be working with today is the same InDesign file we were working with in the previous lesson. That was minpingraphics.ind. It's the one with the puppies. We inserted some pictures and we had the text wrapping around it. We put the on spread 4-5, put the orange puppies in the background. We'll go ahead and keep that one open, and what we're going to do is get on page 1. And on page 1, let's go on the selection tool and look at the graphics frame in the center of the page. So these things are placed on pages to get ready for pictures. It's a placeholder for pictures only. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go to place, so file place or Command D. So do a file place, and we're looking at Chapter 6, and let's see, we're looking for the file. It's called blake.psd. Blake.psd. Go ahead and click open. Blake is now inserted within the graphic, but notice there's little shades of blue around the outside. We're gonna trim that away using a couple of tools. First off, let's go to Object on the menu. Let's go down to Clipping Path, and let's go to Options. Let's run Options. Change your Type List arrow to Detect Edges. Detect Edges. Now, if you can't see the preview, make sure you click the preview checkbox so you can see what happens as you're working with it. Now we got to toggle some things. If you change your threshold and your tolerance, you can see that some things start to happen when we start to get rid of the blue around the dog's face and head. Let's change our threshold to 53 and see what that looks like. Fairly tight around the face, and let's take our tolerance to 0. There. So adjusting the threshold of tolerance is going to be able to remove that background without taking us into Photoshop, cutting it out, and bringing it back in. That's just one little thing we can do with pictures in InDesign. I'm going to click OK. Now let's go to page 7. I'm going to click to deselect. If you click to deselect, you get a nice preview of the dog, no background around him. Let's go to page 7. Page 7 has a little chapter 2 on the left, and then there is a image placeholder. There's an image placeholder there. Let's click on the image placeholder. Let's go to File, Place once again. And we are looking for a file. It should be towards the bottom. It's called, I'll stretch them out so you can see it here a little bit, Red Silo with Alpha Channels. Red Silo with Alpha Channels. It's a PSD. Go ahead and click OK. Notice that we can insert PSDs into this program rather than saving as a PNG. And if we update it in Photoshop, it would automatically update here. Let's go to Object on the menu. Let's go to Fitting, and let's say Fit Content Proportionally. Snaps it back. Now, to give you a little bit of a background on this picture, in Photoshop, this graphic isn't just one picture. It's about 4 layers deep with what's called alpha channels. And alpha channels, things are cut out and there's a black and white interface that's used to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the background using those alpha channels. So let's go to Object on the menu. Let's go to Clipping Path. Options. Make sure the preview checkbox checks so you can adjust these. Now click the Type drop-down arrow, and we're going to be using an alpha channel. So this was something that was pre-made in Photoshop already. Now if you go to the alpha drop-down arrow, you can see that there's a whole body and head only. If you toggle between the two, you either get the whole body or just the head. This was something that was done in Photoshop by somebody before we got a hold of it. Let's go to whole body so we see the whole thing and click OK. I'm going to click to deselect. We got rid of the background. So it's a pre-made Photoshop document. Let's go back to page 1 and do some adjustments here as well. Let's go to the Direct Selection tool. Once we click on the Direct Selection tool, and reminder, that's the little white cursor. Let's click on the picture of the dog. And let's delete it. Let's click on the graphics on the selection tool and click on the graphics frame. Graphics frame selected, and let's place another picture. This time we're looking for, should be a PSD, yeah, puppies.psd, puppies.psd. Go and click open. And we're going to go to object, fitting, fit content proportionally. Actually, let's fill the content. If we just always do I think if I did a fit there, it would have had edges that were open on the sides, but we want to make sure it's fit. Let's go to object, clipping path, options. Notice we keep going back to that clipping path. So this was something that was done in Photoshop that we can adjust here. Okay, the type is a Photoshop path. So if I change my Photoshop path, now things that were done in Photoshop can be interpreted here, and I can remove that background. I don't really take the time in InDesign to cut pictures out because we can just do it in Photoshop. And this was all done with a path in Photoshop. Let's click OK. Let's go to the direct selection tool. And with the direct selection tool selected, let's go ahead and scoot those little guys over a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to go back to, I'm going to undo that. Leave them down there in the bottom of the frame. I'm going to click off to deselect. You can see we got both puppies within the frame, and it looks nice. Let's go to page 7. Page 7, let's go to the direct selection tool. Let's select the dog that was placed in the middle, and let's delete it. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, get on the graphics frame, and let's do a place. Let's do a file, place. And we're looking for dog layer.psd in our data files. Okay, and go ahead and click open. Now in Photoshop, to give you a little background, this is 2 layers already. This is 2 layers already. So we have a Photoshop background with transparent pixels. And I'm just gonna, you don't have to do this part, I'm just gonna flash out of this real quick because I've been talking about it a lot. I want you guys to actually see this. If I go into my InDesign data files, chapter 6, this one was called doglayer.psd. In Photoshop, you're going to see what this looks like. There's a transparent background around the dog. There was a white background, but it was removed. So typically what we have been doing is we've been saving this as a PNG just so we can keep the transparent pixels. What I'm telling you can do is you don't have to do that. You can do something in here, save as a PSD, and not have to worry about permanently changing it. For example, I could put a little text tool in here. In this text tool, I could write some text in there. I'll change my color real fast. I'll shrink it up. And let me hit enter. I'll save the document. Flash back to InDesign. And I'm going to just go ahead and do direct selection and delete, and I'll file place, and I'll place that dog layer. I'll do a, oh, I think I pulled it from the wrong data files. I think I was looking at the wrong data files. I'm not going to redo that though. Fit content proportionally. It's there. I just have about 4 different data files folder, and I don't remember which one I saved it in. So that'd be my problem. But we can take those standard pictures in Photoshop, those PSDs, and bring them in. That's going to conclude lesson 5.